Billy Bob comes home from college to his redneck family in tears. "Ma, am I adopted?" he asks.
"Heck no,"
replies his mother.
"Why in tarnations would you think such a thing?"
Billy Bob shows her his genealogy DNA test results. No match for any of his relatives, and strong matches for a family who lived on the other side of the county. Confused, his mother calls her husband.
"Pa, Billy Bob has done a DNA test, and he might not be our son."
"Well, he ain't,"
replies the husband. She gasps.
"What do you mean?"
The husband answers.
"It was your idea in the first place. You remember that first night in the hospital when the baby did nothing but scream and cry? Then you asked me to change him? Well, I picked a good one, I reckon."
A guy was hitchhiking on the side of the road on a very dark night in the middle of a storm. The storm was so strong he could hardly see a few feet ahead of him. Suddenly, he saw a car coming towards him and stopped. The guy, without thinking about it, got in the car and closed the door, and only then realized that there was nobody behind the wheel. As the car starts moving very slowly, the guy looks at the road and sees a curve coming his way. Scared, he starts to pray, begging for his life. He hasn't come out of shock when, just before the car hits the curve, a hand appears through the window and moves the wheel. The guy, paralyzed in terror, watched as the hand appeared every time they approached a curve. Gathering strength, he gets out of the car and runs all the way to the nearest town. Wet and in shock, he goes into a bar and asks for 2 shots of tequila. He starts telling everybody about the horrible experience he just went through. About half an hour later, 2 guys walked into the same bar, and one said to the other, "Look, that's the guy that got in the car while we were pushing it." A guy goes into a bar with his dog and asks for a drink. Instantly, the bartender says,
"You can't bring that dog in here."
The guy replies, "This is my seeing eye dog."
"Oh, I'm sorry, sir,"
says the bartender, feeling bad.
"Here, the first one is on me."
The man takes his drink, then goes to a table near the door. Another guy walks into the bar with a dog. The first guy stops him and says, "You can't bring that dog in here unless you tell the bartender it's a seeing eye dog." The guy thanks him, continues to the bar, and asks for a drink. The bartender yells,
"Hey, you can't bring that dog in here."
The guy replies, "This is my seeing eye dog." The bartender says,
"No, I don't think so. They don't use chihuahuas as seeing eye dogs."
The man pauses for a moment, then says,
"What? They gave me a freaking chihuahua?"
A man goes into a pet shop and tells the owner that he needs a pet for his mother. He tells him his mother lives alone and could really use some company.
"I have just what she needs,"
says the pet shop owner.
"A chicken that can speak in 5 languages. She'll have a lot of fun with that bird."
The man says he'll take the chicken and arranges to have the bird delivered to his mother. A few days pass and the man calls his mom.
"Well, Mom, how did you like that chicken I sent?"
She says,
"Oh, son, it was delicious."
Horrified, the man says,
"You ate it? Oh my gosh, it could speak 5 languages!"
She shrugs.
"Well, dearie, it should have said something."
A cat dies and goes to heaven. God meets him at the gates of heaven and says,
"You have been a good cat all of these years. Anything you desire is yours. All you have to do is ask."
The cat says,
"Well, I lived all my life with a poor family on a farm and had to sleep on hardwood floors."
God says,
"Say no more."
Instantly, a fluffy pillow appears. A few days later, 6 mice die and go to heaven. God meets them at the gates with the same offer that he made the cat. The mice say,
"All our
lives, we've had to run. Cats, dogs, and even women with brooms have chased us. If we could only have a pair of roller skates, we wouldn't have to run anymore.
God says,
Say no more.
Instantly, each mouse is fitted with a beautiful pair of tiny roller skates. About a week later, God decides to check and see how the cat is doing. The cat is sound asleep on his new pillow. God gently wakes him and asks,
How are you doing? Are you happy here?
The cat yawns, stretches, and says,
Oh, I've never been happier. And those Meals on Wheels you've been sending over are the best.
One day, a man stops at a fast food restaurant for lunch. After receiving his order, he sits down next to an elderly couple. He notices they have ordered just one meal between them. As he watches, the older gentleman carefully divides the hamburger in half, then counts out the fries until each has half of them. The old man then begins to eat, as his wife sits watching with her hands folded in her lap. The young man decides to ask if they would let him buy another meal for them so that they didn't have to split theirs. The older gentleman says,
Oh no. We've been married 50 years, and everything has always been, and will always be, shared 50-50.
The young man then asks the wife if she was going to eat, to which she replies,
Not yet, young man. It's his turn to use the teeth.
A man comes home from an exhausting day at work. He plops down on the couch in front of the television and tells his wife,
Get me another beer before it starts.
The wife sighs and gets him a beer. 15 minutes later, he says,
Get me another beer before it starts.
She looks cross, but fetches another beer and slams it down next to him. He finishes that beer, and a few minutes later says,
Quick, get me another beer. It's gonna start any minute.
The wife is furious. She yells at him,
Is that all you're gonna do tonight? Drink beer and sit in front of that TV? You're nothing but a lazy, drunken, fat slob. And furthermore,
The man sighs and thinks to himself,
It started.